Okay, Marcus, announce lesson 7. Welcome to lesson 7.
Welcome to lesson 7.
Thank you, Marcus. All right. Raise your hand. Give me one example of two opposite numbers. Alice, get me started.
7.
And the opposite?
-10.
Where do they reside on the number line? Why am I all stuck?
Step back.
No, step back. I'm going to lose my balance.
You don't even use it.
Where do the numbers lie on a number line? Go.
7 to the right and -7 to the left.
Or opposite sides of 0, but equally, same distance from 0, but opposite sides. I'm just wording it a little differently. Advanced, you guys are going to go in the hall because you've already done this in Indeed. You got a sneak preview of this in lesson 6 advanced, but I don't want you going past page 7. If you get done through 7 and you want to go to your problem set, you can. I don't want you to start page 8 yet. Okay? So what? Yeah, whatever it is, it tells you. I don't know. Whatever the homework is, it's correct. So you guys can do, and if you get stuck, I mean, come in because it's hanging up over there. But you guys are going to be fine 4 through 7. Those that are staying on with me, I just have to show you a couple of examples and you're going to be fine. All right, it's not difficult stuff. It really isn't. Once I get you started, you'll be able to complete most of this part 1 on your own. All right, here we go. Example 1, page 4, everybody. First thing I want everybody to do, I'm going to go to full screen here so it's easier to work through this. Label your quadrants, always, 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 so it's there as a reference if you need it, and we're going to need it. Now listen, a rule of thumb throughout the rest of this module. Whenever you want a separate coordinate plane so you don't have to keep flipping back and forth between directions on the plane itself, there's copies up here. Just grab them. Don't waste them, okay? But use them if you need to, because when we do this, you'll see you're going to be flipping back and forth. It could be a little bit of a headache. So we'll do it right now where we got to flip back and forth, but in the future when you're working in your groups, if you want to do it separately, you can. All right, I want everybody to locate and plot -7, -5. I'm going to come around and take a look. One thing I want to suggest to you is once you know which quadrant you're going to be in, just be careful that you count correctly. -7 is here, and then you're going to go down to -5. And you wind up being right here. Okay, and then they want you to put the points as well. Okay, good so far? All right, now I'm going to go to A here. I'm going to teach you something what's called a reflection. A reflection is a flip over a particular axis, and they usually will tell you how they want you to flip it. So I'm going to take a look at this. Reflect point A over an axis so that its image is in quadrant 2. So here's my quadrant 2, right? In order for me to flip over the axis, what axis does that have to be flipped over in order to wind up in that quadrant? Think about like if that confuses you. To get from quadrant 3 to quadrant 2, what line do I have to cross over? John. What's the name of this axis? Is this my x or this is my y? Put it in there so you have it. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the point A and reflect it over the x-axis and make my new point. Now when you do that, technically my first coordinate now is what? Is it positive or negative? Negative what? I'm still at negative 7, so I'm just going to go here. And then my y-coordinate is now where? Positive 5. I have it's called a reflection. I've gone over the x-axis. My x-coordinate has stayed the same. It's still negative 7. How now I'm on the positive side? It's kind of tough to work with this in full screen mode. And they want you to label that what? B. It's called a reflection over the x-axis. Put x there. Now here's where we got to be flipping back and forth. Go to the next page. What is the only difference in the ordered pairs of points A and B? Okay, Joe.
So, in B, it's just 5, and in A, it's negative 5.
Okay, in terms of coordinates, which one's the same, which one's different?
Like, you mean positive.
Which coordinate's the same, which coordinate's different?
I mean, the first one's
Which is what, the x or the y?
X.
Okay, the x-coordinate is the same or is it different?
Oh, it's different.
Let's take a look and see. This is what I mean by flipping back and forth. Take a look at your x. Are they the same or are they different? Take a look again. Your first coordinate.
Oh.
Which is what? Okay, right, it hasn't changed. Negative 7 is still the same. What about the y? All right, let's write it. The only difference in the ordered pairs of point A and B is which coordinate? It says the y coordinates are opposite. Are we good so far with that? You guys want to try letter C, this part on your own? I'll come around and check. See if you can do it.
I did it.
All right, if you did everything correctly, you're going to wind up at 7, 5 in quadrant 1. Got it? Do the last, well, let's do the written work first. What's now the only difference between B and C? Take a look at B, take a look at C. Which coordinate is different? Hannah.
Negative 7. Now,
Okay, so which coordinate is different? Well, let's think in terms of x, y. Which coordinate's the same and which is different? The x or the y?
the Y.
That's your x.
Oh,
This is your y. Your y is the same, it's still 5. Which coordinate's different? Guys getting that? First coordinate is x, second coordinate's always y. What axis did you reflect over when you did it? Okay, everybody try part E. Who would like to come in and plot the point? All right, Ben, you got it. Pick blue, just so we could see it. Give it the coordinates too. Every point's got to have an address attached to it, unless they say otherwise. You guys have 7, -5. Okay, now take a look at the difference between B and C, or C and D. Which coordinate is different? Joe, give it a shot.
So the x-axis is the same and the y-axis.
You got it. And by the way, Ben, when you did this, when you went from C to D, what axis did you reflect over? Correct. I think you're getting it. This page was confusing last year for students.
No, it's not that.
Let's do 1.1 complete column together, and then I think you'll be okay. I think last year I didn't demonstrate it. I just let students do it, but it got a little confusing. So what you do is you find the point S, which is already plotted on the coordinate plane, and they actually even give you the coordinates of 5, 3. So there's my S right there. And then it's going to change its location based on the directions, and there's 4 different sets of directions. So the first thing we're going to do is reflect it over the x-axis. So here's my S, here's my x. I'm going to go over my x-axis. And I would make either a little point or a little x. Maybe an x so it doesn't get confused with the other points. Because that's going to indicate now my new direction or my new location. So all I did was I reflected the same distance away from x, but now into the quadrant 4. What are now the coordinates of that point? Go ahead, Hannah. X-axis first.
Oh, then it's -5.
-5 would wind up this way. I'm at 0. I got to go here. Am I 5 or -5? Now where? Up or down?
Down.
Where am I? Okay, I'm at 0. Okay? To get here, do I have to go positive or negative? How many steps?
Oh, yeah, there's
Phil, how many steps?
So 5 to the right, 3 down.
5 this way. Now how do I get here? How many steps? 3 down, which is negative or positive? 5, -3. Okay, now here's where it gets confusing. Go back to point S. Now reflect that same point S over the y-axis. Here's my y. Where do I got to go? What quadrant am I going into? Dylan. Going into quadrant 2. I'm going to reflect the same distance from y. I was 5 to the right of y. Now I got to go 5 to the left. My new location is here. What are the coordinates of that point? Faz. Correct. Takes a little getting used to. Go back to my original S. Now what do I have to do? What do the directions say? Joe. Okay, I'm going to go across the X first. This is why I put this X here, because I've already plotted that. But then, don't stop there. Now I got to go across where? Which axis? The y-axis, which winds up in what quadrant? That's it. Now I got to go over the y, make my new x. What are the coordinates of that point? Hunt. Last one. Go back to the original point. Where do I got to go first? Over the y. Where do I wind up? What quadrant? 2. Then what do I got to do? What quadrant do I wind up in? And look, what do you notice? It's the same one as the one that you just did. Got it? Be careful with this, because you're going to do L, M, and A. But be careful. All right? So you'll complete page 6, and then page 7, and then you're done. Then the only thing that's left is your homework, which is the problem set. Day 2, this is for tomorrow. All right? So finish up 6 and complete 7. And then let me check it. I want to check it before you go on to the problem set. If you want to group up, you can.